There's only one thing you need to know when it comes to business. Only one. There's nothing else. It's nothing new. You just never give up. Never, 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 never give up, ever. And you will eventually get there, wherever there is.
Our guest today is the founder of 24 companies in high-tech, consumer goods, health, and manufacturing. His products have been sold in more than 11,000 stores in 23 countries. There are users of his tech products in 148 countries across the globe. His newest venture is Gusher, the simple, quick, and easy way to create and build a startup. Welcome to the show, Chris Joyce.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
My man, hey, I'm so excited for this interview because this is literally the first time we met. We barely had a little bit of small talk previous to press and record, so there's going to be a lot of gold I feel we can extract from your story. Thank you so much for being here, and I want people to know they can click on to your websites. I have everything linked in the show notes, and also your social media, so they don't have to worry about typing it in or trying to spell your name. It's all there, ready to rock and roll for them. So I'm ready to dive into your story. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
So, I mean, man, that intro was one of the most interesting. I'm going back to it for a second. So 24 companies, 148 countries jump out. You got 11,000 stores. There's so many different things we could talk about. What I love, and I know you mentioned this off camera, is the origin story, right? Like everybody sees the beautiful tree, but I like to get into the roots of that tree. So let's talk about that. When did you have this heart tug to become an entrepreneur? What was your vision for it? Talk about some early influencers in your life, like if it's family, if it's books you read. How did this whole thing begin?
Well, I mean, I want to address one thing real quickly. So that, like, why you start something, I understand doing that, but there's a reason, and I'll go into exactly what you asked for, but I want to address one thing. You go ahead and say, why do you start this? Why go ahead and actually do a business, or why go down this road? I ask people that all the time, whether it's investors, whether it's founders, whatever it may be, because literally it is the Rosetta Stone for talking with them. It gives you insight as to how they operate, how they think, where they're coming from, if they answer that honestly. So I'm going to try to answer it as openly as possible, okay? Going far back, really far back, I literally sold burpee seeds door to door when I was 6 years old on an Air Force base at Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland, if you want to go really far back. But really growing up, I saw my mom stuck in a dead-end job working for the government. She was really always had business ideas, always wanted to get something off the ground. At that time, we were living in Ohio, and really she had no way to get it going. There was no venture capital ecosystem in Ohio. There still isn't. She was a female in the 80s and 90s trying to work her way up, but she was really, really smart. She saw business trends. And it took her well into her 50s to quote unquote make it. She finally made it in her own way. So going back as to why I do Gusher, that's really one of the main reasons why I founded Gusher. It was really a methodology that I'd always done from the time that I lived in New York to end at NYU. But really it goes back to my mom and seeing her.
That's awesome, man. I love that. It's there's the word. I like the word inspiration better than motivation, because motivation is like if someone's yelling at you, like, hey, you got to do this. You got to do your, like a parent telling a kid to do their laundry, or a coach yelling at a kid to run a sprint. But you're inspired by seeing your mom work hard, and the fact that she had some magic that you could see in her that she was trying to unlock, and you didn't see all the possibilities there for her as easy as it would be for maybe a man in your area, definitely. Or also based on the infrastructure of what entrepreneurship looked like in your area you grew up in. You kind of felt like maybe a fish out of water story, but she still was going to make it happen no matter what. So that planted that seed. That to me is inspiration, and that to me is special.
Absolutely. And that never giving up thing.
And never give up, right? But part of that story, like, so I use the word influencer, and it's not what I mean by like Instagram influencer, the word gets thrown around. I'm talking about like someone who influenced you into aspiring into this amazing entrepreneur that you are today in so many different ways. Was there anyone you ever looked up to, maybe an athlete or someone that just had that like MVP no matter what attitude, like a Michael Jordan or somebody?
I wish there was, okay? But in my scenario, it comes from almost in a way the opposite, okay? By that, and not to go into too much detail, although I'd be happy to, I had an a-hole stepfather. Okay. And so I would come up with all these ideas all the time on things that needed improvement or things, businesses to do. And I remember, him in one day, he was an electrical engineer by training. But basically he really, can I curse on this podcast or no?
Yeah.
Really, he shit upon my idea left and right, just brutalized it. It was probably the most brutal review of a product that I ever had in my life at the age of maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, is how old I was. And I decided right then and there, in my head, I was like, F you. And I just drew the line. I mean, I decided right then and there that I thought I was right and I was going to continue down that road and not be crapped upon. So almost in a way that the reverse, it wouldn't have somebody to look up to necessarily. It was having somebody that really crapped upon me and just deciding who you are fundamentally almost from a young age.
I do believe that entrepreneurs have something wired in them. It's just like the great athletes, the Bradys, the Jordans, the Jeters. They just have this thing of like when you're kind of like counting them out is when they have their most magical moments. Late in the postseason, late in the game, fourth quarter, 38-3, stuff like that, right? Where they're just going to be like, okay, everybody has us dead to rights, and now we're gonna come in, and this is what we're gonna execute. And I feel like there's a lot of that in me too, and I feel that with a lot of the people I've interviewed, I've been blessed to interview a lot of incredible entrepreneurs. And people with a lot of great comeback stories too. And the fact is there's this always moving forward, never giving up mentality. That's like a special gift that it's something that's got to be wired. I do believe a lot of traits and skills can be learned. I'm someone who you can learn things. I'm more of a in the trenches learner. Some people are both classroom, they read a book and then they like to apply it. To me, I need to like learn it, get my hands dirty and that kind of thing. But I do believe it's a great mix of learning and then also having that nobody's going to tell you can't do it. Someone says, hey, Chris, I don't think this is going to be done by Q4. And Chris is like, the phone is hung up and he's already executing on it. So talk about some of the traits and values that you feel go into being a great entrepreneur, things you've seen in yourself or others. And, let's talk about that for a second. What are some of those gifts that people have, maybe natural and learned?
Well, I think one of the biggest things an entrepreneur has to have, and they don't necessarily have to have it all at once, but over a period of time, is the ability to delay gratification. That is literally one of the most underestimated gifts there is in mankind. It's not necessarily patience, because I know personally I am the most impatient person in the world, and it just drives me crazy. But the ability to delay the gratification for at times years and even decades in certain situations is what usually pays off. The other thing is the ability, and I don't want to come off as a masochist, but the ability to go ahead and take pain and realize that almost in a way, discomfort is a natural state of entrepreneurship. It's something where almost in a way, the fog of not knowing what's coming next, you have to be kind of comfortable with, or at least comfortable with the discomfort. Because you're never going to have this black and white path of going from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4. It's really going ahead and dealing with the gray areas the vast majority of the time. So, and problem solving goes without saying, but I really believe that the ability to deal with pain, a high threshold for pain and just continuing really does a hell of a lot. Because the only person that can stop the roller coaster ride as an entrepreneur is you.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand, that nobody else can stop them. So it's not that your friend can stop you, a family member can stop you, anyone else can stop you. The only person that decides to stop that roller coaster ride is you. And so long as you don't press the stop button, you'll get there, period.
Yeah. You'll find this about me, and I'm a huge sports fan, and I also live in Buffalo, New York, and the Bills are very good right now. And as we're recording this, we just went on Sunday Night Football. We're 6-1, so the season's looking great. And what I'm thinking about when you say that is just like the Bills, right? If they're going to lose this year, they're beating themselves. Like they lost one game, it was to the Dolphins. They outperformed them in every aspect, and they lost by 2 points because they came up short. They shot themselves in the foot. They had a turnover in the like they were 2 feet away from scoring a touchdown and Josh just has like one misfire and it's like, that's the game right there. That kind of thing, right? But it's self-inflicted. And it's the same with entrepreneurship like you're talking about. Sometimes there's self-sabotage that happens and people don't believe that they are capable. There's the imposter syndrome. I know it's a very real thing. I've dealt with it myself many times and have coaches who've helped me with that because I didn't grow up in a family that had businesses and all this stuff. And we're a great blue-collar family here in Buffalo, New York, with my dad stamping car doors at the Ford stamping plant. And it was either a lot of family, like there's literally like 5 or 6 family members that all went through Ford. That was like after high school, you go to Ford University and you go stamp out car doors. Or, you know, it was like go become something that would have, you know, the things you hear in school, like a doctor, a teacher, all these different things, a lawyer, like all the jobs that seem to pay well or whatever that didn't have any interest to me. So you kind of have to find your way. It's a squiggly line like you're talking about. But I do totally agree. I've seen it with a lot of people that the thing that's going to stop a great entrepreneur is not usually external factors. Like you said, it's mostly internal damage, sometimes self-sabotage, other times it's quit. But that usually, like the best of the best of the best that we've seen, to riff on the idea of sports again, are those that just continue to go and they're not afraid to take the shot. Like Jordan says he missed whatever it was, he took like 9,000 shots, right?
More than, right, exactly. Anybody else.
He missed like more than he made or whatever. But he says that's why I was successful, is because I wasn't afraid to shoot. Someone gave me the ball with the game on the line. I was going to put my best shot. Some people may have been nervous or whatever. He's like, no, it's not because of just the shots I made that make me successful. It's the shots I've taken.
But also, like, unlike Jordan, but even kind of like Jordan, unlike Jordan, where there's almost in a way a beginning and end to a game. There's a beginning and end to a season. And that's the way that they go ahead and mark themselves or measure their quote unquote success. With business, that doesn't exist. So if somebody self-sabotages themselves today, well, guess what? They wake up again tomorrow. They don't have to self-sabotage them. Nothing has totally been decimated. And even if they lost their business, it's not an excuse to stop. I've been in scenarios where I wake up and not to go too into it, but I've had it where partners have emptied the bank accounts on me. I've had it where, okay, you're one day you have a business going and the next day you have 200 layoffs and your business is basically non-existent that you built up from scratch. You know, you have these scenarios, but this thing is that there's no death knell. There's nothing that is terminal there. So why are people afraid? You just do it and you take the risk. And over time, if you trust the process, and you got to trust that process, it will work out. And that's not, fairy tale stuff. That really is true. It's just trusting the process and doing it.
Mic drop moment right there. Trust the process. It's funny. You probably didn't realize this, but that is our slogan for the Buffalo Bills. Is trust the process.
That's my deal rule 28.
Yeah, that's McDermott saying, our coach. I love that.
It works.
So great. And the biggest takeaway so far that I just got from you, and guys, don't overlook this when you're tuning in here. Thank you for being with us on YouTube or Spotify or however you're tuning in, Amazon Music, Apple. What Chris just said right there is so important that, in sports, there's games, the season ends, you got to wait till like the off season and then the new season starts. But really in entrepreneurship, you lose a day, you start back at the next day. Like your season could restart. It doesn't always have to be a new season. It could be maybe you lost a couple games, if you will, quote unquote games. And then next Monday you start back and you're just, you're 0-2 instead of 1-1 or 2-0. Really, really great. And again, my brain kind of solves in that way. That's why I've always been, I feel great in sales because of that. I'm not physically gifted. I didn't play. I played some sports. I was a tennis player in high school, and I played baseball when I was a little guy up until about 15 years old. So not exactly super gifted athletically. Like I'm not going to be playing quarterback for the high school football team or anything. But I always loved that sports kind of. That's what sales is. Like you got to hit 100 sales this month, and you got 12. So you're solving basically just like you're a quarterback trying to get first downs and touchdowns, and appointments are like. It's like, achieving these micro goals, and the macro goal is winning the game, right? So I'm going to pick your brain a little bit more on that. I want to learn about who you're serving with Gusher. What is it completely, so we better understand it? I teased it a little bit in the intro. So what is Gusher, and who are you serving?
Sure. Well, think of it this way. Gusher is a platform to launch companies, to create and launch companies without the need for capital, without the need for investors. So the biggest barrier to starting a company for most people, they think, is having that capital. They need X amount of dollars. They need Y amount of dollars. But if you think about it, those dollars are typically spent on people to go ahead and bring into it. So if you need the expertise of other people, Gusher is a way to go ahead and create and launch your company using something called performance-based equity. People join a company in exchange for performance-based equity. So what it is, it's a way for, I tell founders, to go ahead, if you had $1 million or $2 million in the bank account right this second, what would you build? How would you build it? And then you Gusher that. So you don't need money. And founders really don't believe it until they actually see it. But we have everything from B2B, B2C, B2B2C, and everything in between. Hundreds of companies from consumer goods, manufacturing, SaaS, fintech, AR, VR, AI, gaming, medical devices, you name it, we've got it. And it's a really effective way of starting a company.
That's awesome. So is there, there's all different industries that you're working within, it sounds like. So there's not really, is there something that you say like, well, we don't really touch that space, or is it?
Anything that kills people or harms people, we don't really touch.
Cool.
So not that we have many startups come in, but yeah.
So you have moral values. I like it
we do.
More and more as we continue to talk, Chris. That's awesome, brother. I really love it. What would you say the mission statement is at Gusher then? Like, what's the overall key mission?
Sure. Talent is spread evenly. Opportunity isn't. We're fixing that. So it doesn't matter whether you're living in the middle of Dubuque, Iowa, or Ohio, or San Fran, or you're living in Africa or Europe or Central America. We have founders in all these areas. It doesn't matter whether you're Black, white, Asian, or anything else in between. It doesn't matter your religion, your age. What matters is really your idea, how you present it, and whether or not you can build a team. And it's something that's really the way it should be. We have an 80-year-old grandma from South Africa that just got a QVC deal. We have 20-year-old Villanova students that just have their deal go to clinical research right now for a new medical device, and everything in between. We have product of the year last year for one of our companies in the trucking industry from a guy that got laid off during COVID, a middle market manager. So really all age groups, everything else, it comes down to your idea and willingness just to do it. It doesn't cost a thing.
That's amazing, man. This is an opportunity, guys. Check Gusher out. This is so good for early stage entrepreneurs. Anyone with an idea right now, plant that seed. This can be your bridge to get you to where you want to go. And I definitely do feel like we live in this world, this Shark Tank environment of like, we got to find someone to pitch our idea to that has money that's going to come in, and then we want to give them, like 10% and whatever. And they all feel like they're getting this great deal. And it's really strange to me. I do like Shark Tank because I'm interested in business ideas and I love that entrepreneurial spirit. When someone's pitching their business, and I love to see how the sharks react to some of the quirky ones. I know it's entertainment, and I'm sure, it's highly edited to make it even more entertaining and the cliffhangers and stuff. But why I bring up that show is it feels like it's not only that show, but talking to a lot of friends like the tech space and stuff, I feel like people get an idea and they go right to funding, and there's no the thing doesn't even exist yet. And I started my company in 2017, Social Chameleon, as a media and marketing company that's now a podcast agency that does production, distribution, and promo content on social media for clients. And we literally never taken $1 from anybody. And we started it from just a couple bucks I had saved up in my account at the time, to now doing, I'm not going to share where we're at just, for privacy, but we're doing well now. Over the last 5 years, we've grown and grown and grown and grown, and we're in a great trajectory. Could I have benefited from some additional, capital? I'm sure I could have. I would have found the resources. The first thing I would have done with the capital is hired someone who knew what to do with that money better than I would, right? Because you don't know. But my point is, I feel like a lot of these companies start off with they don't spend any time with the product yet or with their consumers yet. They really have almost no information on anything, and they're getting money. And it seems like it's kind of dangerous. It's like giving a 5-year-old a lot of money.
It's more than that. It's ass backwards. So,
Yeah.
Mike, this is what happens. The whole venture capital industry, and I won't go off on a tirade, but it is. It's quite literally ass backwards for the exact reason that basically you stated. And that's why they have such high failure rates. That's why you always hear the number, only 1 out of 10 succeeds, and they need to have a 10x to cover the others, et cetera, et cetera. And that's really because the ideas, the way that they do it, the way that they're grown, because they're not grown in an organic certain way, they haven't tested the markets. Their thesis hasn't even had market validation. They talk about magic product market fit. That's the wrong way to build a company.
Or projections that are basically like as good as toilet paper.
Yeah, exactly. But it's even worse than that because you have these valuations of companies for something that is primarily an idea unproven in the market. And their form of validation is whether or not they can get a check from a VC, which is the worst form of validation because if anything, you've got a 9 out of 10 chance of not making it right off the bat. So something like shoestring companies, I mean, their first couple of years, they're greater than 50, 60, 70% success rate, depending upon the industry, just shoestringing it with nothing, with nobody else. With Gusher, we've got an 80% success rate. So it's a fundamental difference. But there's definitely reasons why. If you're able to bring in people, you talk about your idea, you're pitching it, that's a big deal. If you're trying to get money, completely different market validation. It's not market validation.
Yeah. That's really awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that and that's different insight than we've received on the show. I always try to balance things out. I've had VCs on. I have a friend that's a VC. One of our clients is a big time VC in LA and Chicago, and I love what he's doing, but this is just a different aspect of it. And I do like the idea of giving people options. You don't only have to go there's not only one door to entrepreneurship and success. Like you could figure out your road, and not everybody it could slow people down. I don't have 10 grand. I don't have 50 grand. I don't have 100 grand to get started or to pay somebody who's interested in my idea or even have the marketing dollars. But you start off with this really guerrilla marketing style and it works and you can continue to get better. And as you have everything, I'm not saying, I've done everything right, but one of the things I know that I have done right personally is whenever I do get a little bit extra, call it saved up or we're in the green, I reinvest it right back into the business. I hire another coach. I hire another person for marketing. I bring a person on my team because I know I'm not sleeping right now. So I need to get one more person on the team that can fire away on all these other, execute on these tasks that no longer I'm the only one that needs to be doing them, right? So that's a huge thing. But I have to ask you about Gusher because I'm interested in, myself, 5 years in, I have a team of 7 now. Is this something that's only for launching? Or can you be in business for a handful of years and you want to go to the next level? Is this for you too?
Good question. So in the beginning, about the way the breakdown is, approximately 85-90% of our companies are at ideation stage. They don't have a solution. They don't have anything. They're just a person or maybe 2 people that need now all these other people to go ahead and create that product, that service, that whatever. And they may not even have a solution. They've just identified a problem. About 10 to 15% of our companies, it varies really throughout the year, are what are called legacy companies. So those are companies that they may have gotten pretty good funding. They may have a product, a service, or whatever it may be, but really they're looking to get to that next level, however it is. So they need to scale up. They need to standardize a product. They need to figure out marketing in a different way. Usually it's a combination of all those things. But what we're about is really creating the fundamental teams that enable you to get there. So it's not like you bring on one person, you're really bringing on those 5, 10, 15 people to then take you to that next level, to then help you get there. That's really what we're about.
So it's like a supporting cast of characters that come in that you wouldn't have access to if you tried to do it all by yourself, right?
Right. Think of it this way. Instead of creating a minimal viable product, you're creating right off the bat a market viable product. So a lot of the learning process that takes linear time that you can only concentrate on one thing if you're a solopreneur or maybe 2 entrepreneurs doing it, you're able to leapfrog generational development. That's what it enables, as if you had that money in the bank.
That's huge.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love what you're doing there. We're going to learn a little bit more about it after the break. We're going to take a quick 2-minute timeout to give our sponsors some love. We'll be right back with Chris Joyce.
Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files, we'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business.
All right, we're back in action with Chris Joyce. Remember, you can connect with him on social media. His website and links are all clickable in the show notes, making it super easy to connect. Right before the break, we were talking about Gusher. We were picking his brain about entrepreneurship and the different key values that go into being a successful entrepreneur. So what I'd like you to do, Chris, is talk to our audience right now. We have a lot of young entrepreneurs. I'm always looking at the stats to see who's tuning in and from where. We got our core audience is 25 to 45-year-olds. We're pretty split, male, female. And most of them are in this space, entrepreneurial ideas, about to launch. So Gusher's a great tool for them. But aside from that, let's talk just about them, and they're hanging on right now. They're kind of at that moment, right? Maybe they had that stepfather tell them they can't do it, or they've had whoever, someone at school tell them you're not good enough, whatever. And they're just kind of hanging on, man, for their last thread. What would you like to tell that person directly right now?
I'd say that they are in what's called the furnace. And that furnace turns you into one of two things, and it's your choice, okay? Either you burn up to a crisp and turn into ash, okay? Or you anneal and you become something else. And that is a choice. It's not something that happens to you. It's not something that anybody else has control of. It is a choice. You either evolve from that furnace in a better way, in something that you're meant to be. You either fulfill why you are here and go ahead and make that opportunity real. Make it something fundamentally that you go after, or basically you end up dead and turn into ash, because that's the reality of it. That dream, that voice, that thing that you hear in your head is everything. It is literally you fighting for your life, even though you may not know it at this stage. And that's important stuff. The one thing that it comes down to is fundamentally believing what I call Deal Rule 29. You are enough. Deal Rule 29 is I am enough. You are enough to make your dreams happen. As a matter of fact, you're the only damn person that's going to make those dreams happen. So if you're sitting on the fence, if you're sitting in the furnace, if you don't know what to do and you're hanging on for life, well, go ahead and choose one way or the other, because either way is painful as hell, but you might as well come out a winner.
Oh, man. Another mic drop moment from Chris Joyce right there, dude. This is so good. I am just eating this up. That's so good. And it's not just a good soundbite. Like, I know obviously everything you said you meant, and I also know that that's true because I've experienced it. Friends of mine have experienced it. People lose an identity too, like when they're not fighting for their dreams too. I've had people that I know that have like multiple $1 million, they sell their business, whatever. They literally can retire. They're like 35 years old and they get lost. They get confused. They get sad. They get depressed. You're like, how the hell could you be depressed? Like, you know, you're sitting there, you could be on any island you want, kicking your feet up, but it's the purpose behind it. And on the other end of it is before all the success, before all the anything that comes along with being the successful entrepreneur is there. Like you said, you got to have that patience to be able to get there. And that's a gift, is the fighting for what you care about. Like, that's why we have these ideas. Like the idea for Gusher came to you because you were inspired to help these people who you saw it was all done backwards, like you said, or whatever. So that is so good to remember, like when you're in that furnace, there's a reason why to push forward, because the world's like relying on you. We're depending on you. Like, go and be great in your own way, because you could serve 7 billion people and we're all here waiting for you. So get out of your own way, like to be, a lot of times people are thinking just about themselves, but it's not about themselves. So if you create the widget, the app, the new website, the new thing, you're serving people. And that's what to me gets you amped up.
And that has a ripple effect that you can't measure, you can't see, and it typically is pretty damn big. I know, for example, I have people come back to me years later on stuff that I don't even remember saying or putting out there. And they're like, you did this, or you changed my life and did this angle, whatever it may be. It has ripples, and people really should be cognizant of that. When you take an action to go ahead and fulfill your dreams, to follow your dreams, to go ahead and make that little tiny voice that's inside your head real, and to give it some type of perspective out there, to put it out there, that has impact upon other people in a positive way.
Right.
Big way.
So good, man. So good. It's just thinking about things through a different lens too, right? Or seeing things through a different lens. Now, you've been extremely successful, multiple companies. Your products have been in 11,000 stores, as I said in the beginning, and 148 countries across the globe have your tech products in them. So with that kind of level of success, you say, hey, I'm gonna take an hour to spend with Mike DiCioccio, right, on Mic'd Up, which I greatly appreciate you being here in our audience, right, the Mic'd Up universe. You're taking time out of your day. I'd love to hear you explain the power of podcasting. Why do you feel that this is a beautiful use of your time? And why are you most excited to spend this time with our audience?
Sure. I think it's what I touched upon before. I think it's the impact of those ripples and where they lead. So talking with you is not just talking with you. Yes, we talk. Yes, we have a shared commonality of thoughts in many different ways. Yes, there's a playoff of the ideas going in a certain direction, but bringing that to other people has that almost in a way that exponential effect, has almost in a way that viral effect, has that impact more importantly. And I know it's not fundamentally necessarily to what I do or Gusher or what you do necessarily in terms of your day-to-day, but that impact I get off on. That's something that I live for. It's something that I know it helps people. And that's really the power of podcasting. It simply is the reach in helping people to go ahead and get through some difficult times and to create some great shit.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's why I'm doing it. That's why I got in the space in the first place. And like I told you off camera, I think it was before we were recording, you were asking me why I'm doing this. And I shared that same exact thing. That is why I get, I look forward to this. I love working with our clients and creating content and meeting new people through sales conversations and all that good stuff. I love that. That fuels me up. But really my favorite part of the week, aside from spending quality time with my daughter and my family, is spending time doing these interviews, because I have lifelong friends now that I met through podcasting, and we're common thinkers. We love supporting each other. Your next product comes out, I see it's a home run, I call you up, we celebrate. You see me, I've had people reach out to me, man, I was like your 10th episode and now you got 150, like congratulations on your success. And it's like, man, I didn't even know that if they would remember that moment, And
that's cool.
I get emails from people just checking in. Real conversations, real friendships come from this. But aside from that, it's like you said, it's the information that's helping our audience. It's so good. It's so valuable. I've been on the receiving end of that, listening into podcasts. And the reason why I love doing Mic'd Up is I love to be someone who's putting that out into the world. Like you can receive and you can receive, but you also create, right? So that's a huge thing. And I'm glad that you shared that. And I do appreciate you being here. I know we're running out of time. I got a hypothetical question for you here. I'd love you to open up and take this however you'd like to share it.
I like hypothetical.
Imagine this, right?
I deal with those all day.
So now, do you actually have a book out?
No book.
There's a reason.
I never published my deal rules book. It's written completely, but I haven't published it. I should publish it.
So that's why I asked this question, because I'm going to think of it this way. You're the author and protagonist in your own life story, and you get to write the ending. God willing, you continue to live a long, prosperous life. You're looking back on it, and you get to define your legacy. What would that be?
My legacy would, first of all, be happy children, bar none. In terms of that, as I get older, that really becomes the one thing. But also, I don't want them to have it easy. That's a given, because that doesn't make happy children. And really
Right.
just, I would like people to think of me in a way that is helpful to them, that I just help people in some way, shape, or fashion. And almost always that has to do with business, but it comes down to a lot more than that. I would like them just to think of me in a positive way and to have had some impact that helped them through their own journey.
Yeah, and I know you've done that for me today and our audience today, and you're doing that. I'm sure your family has a lot of love and respect for you. Anything else you'd like to share with our audience, knowing who you're talking to right now, and anything you'd like to give them that they can take as a tool onto their successful journey?
Yeah, there's only one thing you need to know when it comes to business. Only one. There's nothing else. It's nothing new. You just never give up. Never, 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 never give up, ever. And you will eventually get there, wherever there is.
That's so good. So tell us again, I know I'm going to have it linked in the website. What's the best, or the show notes, what's the best website to find you and your favorite social medias to hang out on?
Sure, they can just go to gusher.co. I'm easily found, gusher.co. And I'm actually easily found pretty much anywhere. I don't know if it's Deal Rules on Instagram, but I'm pretty big on LinkedIn. You can find me there. That's really where I hang out if I'm going to hang out.
Cool. Well, I'd love to have you on again in the near future and check back in, see what you got going on. We'll talk a little bit more about Gusher and the success that you have going. When did you actually launch it? How long has it been in the market?
It's been about 3 years. So we're in it right now. We've got approaching 300 companies, and we're growing pretty damn rapidly. So
that's incredible, man.
Yeah, it
awesome
is nice.
Job, dude. Cheers to you. Cheers to your success. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your time with us. And this is a huge thing. Absolutely love it. And I let everybody know there's two things. There's be great and be grateful. And I really start and end every day in gratitude. I like to start and end every episode in gratitude. I'm extremely grateful for your time and the wisdom that you just shared with us. Appreciate you being
Thanks
here.
for having me.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedrop. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedrop. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.